Thank you. There's definitely a weirder one than normal because I know everyone in this room pretty much, or I've at least met someone on the elevator coming up. But thanks for inviting me here. It's great to see everyone. It's great to be doing these in person, especially in this virtual world. I do a lot of the virtual ones, and it's actually great to shake a hand and be face to face. Even though I'm all in on AI, I still like the personal stuff. So like Chad has said, I'm just a sales guy at the end of the day. That's all I am. I've been drinking the Sandler sales Kool-Aid since as long as I can remember. And in that time, I've tried to figure out how does this thing called AI apply to what we do? How does it work? Where does it fit in? If you're here to understand how to build a large language model and customize it to your company, you're in the wrong place. That's not what I'm here to tell you. I'm here to help you understand how do we use this from a tactful standpoint or a tactical standpoint, and in a way that we don't have to become experts on the back end of it. We just have to understand it well enough to be able to use it and apply it in our own lives. So, quick background on me. Chad mentioned I'm with Sandler. I've been with Sandler on and off for 8 years. I think I skipped a week of college classes when I was a junior to drive up to Baltimore, Maryland to get certified as an associate when I was 20 years old. And I've been in and out ever since. Rejoined full-time 2.5 years ago with my father's franchise down in Ballantyne area. And then about a year ago, I got approached by another Sandler franchise because Sandler and HubSpot, anyone familiar with HubSpot in this room? Right, so marketing software, CRM software, lots of different tools. Sandler and HubSpot have a corporate relationship because at Sandler, we have 200 trainers all around the world, and our clients would always come to us and say, hey, you just helped us build a sales process. Now we need to build sales tech. What CRM do you recommend? And every trainer had a different answer. They couldn't help or support it, and so we wanted to unify that, and that's what we're doing with HubSpot. With that being said, we needed to build it. We needed to build the HubSpot around the Sandler process. We needed to find the right tools that integrate with HubSpot. And so I became a HubSpot partner and co-founder in a company called SalesLift with my partner Jeremy Thompson, who's also a Sandler trainer in the UK. So him and I run that business together, and I also work in Tim's business. And then in addition to that, I run my brand called the AI Sales Guy. So 2 years ago, I was watching YouTube videos on AI, trying to figure it all out, and an idea popped in my head, and I was like, the AI Sales Guy. I got to do something with that before someone else does. So I gave myself a nickname. I know you're not allowed to, but it stuck, so I'm running with it. So that's kind of my focus, so those three areas really, and how they cross over. I'm not really focused on one area solely. I'm focused on how do they really talk to each other and communicate. And I wanted to figure out, how do you combine a proven sales methodology with cutting edge sales technology? Because I think it's possible, and I found it is possible, and I found it's almost a cheat code when you can figure out how to do it. And then I've had the experience or the opportunity to work with some really cool companies over the last year and a half, consult with them on different tools they could implement, consult with them on an AI strategy for their company, as well as talking to different executive forums and groups and things just like this, which I love to do. So we'll walk through a couple of things. I know anytime I walk into a room, there's typically people who are scared of AI, people who are excited about AI, and everywhere in between. And every position on AI is a fair position. I've been in all three myself at one point or another. So we'll talk about what is it that we're really talking about. We'll discuss a concept called seller role simplification, which is Gartner's #1 use case for AI in sales. What does that mean? How does it apply? We'll talk about AI-powered selling. I've watched a lot of AI talks, and I'll leave sometimes more confused than when I showed up. And I don't want that to be the case today. So I'm going to show you some screenshots of some actual tools I use in my process, break down what it means. And of course, if there's any questions, it seems like a pretty laid back group from what I can tell. So feel free to just chime in. I'm from Minnesota in the Midwest, so I talk fast. I don't leave breaks in my sentences. So you just got to interject right in the middle, and I'll catch you. Yes, of course. Thank you for asking. And then I'll wrap up with some ChatGPT best practices. What's an AI presentation without the word ChatGPT in it at least once, right? So I'll give you some best practices. I'm not going to dive too deep into it today. If you really want to go deeper, I have white papers and different things that you can really use to expand your learning on that topic. And we'll see if we get through it all. I think we will.
Awesome.
So what is AI? And there's a lot of different perceptions on AI, especially if you go onto Fox or CNN, they have a perception of AI. If you talk to your kids, they have a perception of AI. But of course, what is it and what is it going to be for you? Well, all it is, in the most basic definition, if we really just boil it down, is a computer system or a machine that can do something or complete a task typically attributed to a human. That's the most basic definition of it. There's a lot of different types of definitions other than that, but think of things like visual perception, speech recognition, right? So early on, we've heard of Siri in this room, right? And you know when Siri came out?
20 years ago? 15?
Almost. 15. 2011. So since 2011, we've had Siri or AI in our pocket, right? And this gave us the opportunity to talk to our phone and say, hey, what was the score of last night's baseball game? Simply just translating what you're saying and then using it to search the web or search, its records. But since then, things have changed. The internet in 2011 is a lot different than the internet in 2024. It's bigger, it's expanded, there's a lot more computing power. And the way AI works, the internet is essentially its brain, because oftentimes that's what the training was done on, was what's on the internet. So as the internet expands, as the internet grows, the brain for AI gets larger and has more context to pull from, so it gets smarter and more powerful. But there's other things too, right? There's Amazon Alexa or Google Home. Right? That was one of my first experiences, was getting a Google Home and being able to turn all my lights on or turn them off. So I could be laying in bed and have all my lights in my apartment go off, and I wouldn't have to get up and turn my light switches off. Stupid, simple. My mom thought I was being tracked. Yes, probably. But it just helped me in that way. And I was like, these are the types of tools and things that I enjoy. But even predictive text. So you're going to send a text message and the next word pops up on your phone. You just hit the space bar and it fills it in. That's all AI. And that's all ChatGPT is really doing, just on a massive scale and with hundreds of words rather than just one word. It's just predicting, hey, based on the string of words before this, what's the most likely word to come up next? That's all it's doing. Right? So even visual perception, right? Think of it compared to a computer and AI. You can show a computer a picture, but it doesn't know what's going on in that picture. It doesn't know who's in it. It doesn't know why it's funny, et cetera. It knows maybe the file size, the date it was taken, things like that. But if you show AI an image, it can understand what's going on in that image. It can say, why is it funny? What clothes are they wearing? What's happening? And actually explain it to someone. Right? So you can see that there's obviously use cases to where that can be very, very helpful. Right? Think of someone who's visually impaired and can't see something. A computer can't explain what it's seeing. AI can. Right? So there's some really cool things that are coming. Has anyone seen the eye tracking coming from Apple? So it's already on. I'm on the beta version of iOS 18 on my phone, and they just released it, so I can basically use my eyes and it'll take like a scan, and I can look on the screen. It will go to where I'm looking. They're doing it on the iPad next. Not the greatest yet, but it's just the beginning. We're in the infancy of AI, so it's getting pretty exciting in some areas. And just think of people who don't have the ability to use iPads because they're impaired in another way, like quadriplegics or whatever it may be. They now have this technology that can support them in what we do, and I think it can be applied to sales as well. So what is it? Well, when I ask people that question, a lot of people say it's ChatGPT, which is fair because ChatGPT has grown so fast and it's definitely the most prevalent technology that uses AI out there today. And it's a great place to dip your toe in the water because it's free. It's a great way to just try it out. But saying ChatGPT is AI is kind of like saying California is the United States. Right? That's not the case, thankfully. There's a lot of different cultures, a lot of different climates, a lot of different places you might want to live. And I think AI is the same way. Whereas ChatGPT is a form of generative AI meaning it generates something. Text, images, yeah.
Is there still a backlog on signups for ChatGPT like there was a year or two ago?
Not last I saw. I think they've caught up at that point. When they were heavy doing updates and all that stuff, they were having to limit the amount of users adding on. They're also planning on doubling their revenue this year compared to last year. I think they made $1.7 billion last year as their first year releasing ChatGPT. This year's $3.5 billion, are on track for it. So they're not slowing down, that's for sure. But no, you can go and get access to it today and try it out, but you can still use the free version. The free version is actually becoming a lot more robust and powerful as they keep making these advancements as well.
Is there a 4.0 ChatGPT now versus 5.0?
Yeah, 4.0. It's weird. It's like a 4 point and it's like a small o, which don't ask me why. But Yeah, 4.0 is where they're at right now. And then you'll see other ones, which we'll talk about a little bit at the end, like cloud is a popular one, becoming more popular because it's based on an ethical model just compared to what ChatGPT does. There's Perplexity, there's Gemini, there's Copilot. There's a few out there. So
Do you pay for one personally?
I pay for ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity. Kind of have to. It's a write-off though, thankfully. So generative AI, what is this? And this is as technical as I'm going to get today, but I want you to kind of understand where we're at and what the scope of this really looks like. So you have artificial intelligence, and then inside of artificial intelligence, you have a designation called machine learning. Inside machine learning, you have deep learning, and then deep learning has a lot of different categories within it, and one of them is generative AI. And then ChatGPT is a dot on generative AI's spectrum, right? So we're talking about way more than just ChatGPT here. And you might find, and like I've found, that ChatGPT is not even the best tool to help me do what I do. It's a great tool, but people assume that I'm on ChatGPT all day, every day. I'm not. I'm using other AI tools to help me spend less time on my computer. And we'll talk about that concept here in a second though. But one other thing, anyone heard of Sora in here? S-O-R-A? Right, so Sora is OpenAI's newest tool for video generation, so generative AI for video. There's entire production studios that were about to be break ground on, and they stopped it before they broke ground because they're like, we're not building this anymore because Sora is coming out. So it's not released to the public yet. You can see it on social media. Go check it out, S-O-R-A, OpenAI Sora. The videos are incredible. They really are. So some really cool and exciting things happening, but this is all great and exciting, but how does it really apply to sales? Well, when I'm talking about AI for sales, all I'm really meaning is a program, a platform, a piece of software that is used in the sales world that now has AI baked right in. These could be programs that you've used for 5, 10, 15 years already, but now they're AI powered, right? Things like Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho, etc. Even Microsoft Outlook with Copilot, Google Suite with Gemini, right? They're just being baked right into what we use every day. And now there's things like Canva, right? Marketers in the room love Canva, as they should. I love Canva. And now there's little AI tools to where it's like, hey, just remove the background of this image automatically for me. Or things like that, that just, the whole platform might not be an AI-powered platform, but they have AI tools baked right in to just help us get our jobs done that much easier. Less clicking, dragging to this tool to remove the background, then that tool, just going to one place for it all. So I like to think of it as a digital teammate, unpaid intern, whatever you want to call it. But the question we asked a year ago when we did our first Sandler webinar on the topic was, will AI tools specifically replace salespeople? And we said they wouldn't, but what we did say is that salespeople who understand how to use AI will replace the ones who don't, right? And you can replace the word salespeople with anything you want. Business owners, marketers, pediatricians, right? I mean, think about even in the hospital. That's actually where this phrase came from, was a medical application saying that, hey, people in the medical industry who can use AI to become that much more accurate are going to be more powerful than the ones who don't know how to use it. I mean, think about marketing. You got a blog writer or someone who writes blog posts. They can make, without AI, probably 4 good blog posts a day, let's just say. They're good, they're professional, they've been doing it for a while. But then this one can create 6 blog posts a day, or maybe 8 blog posts a day, but not only are they good, but they're baked in with all the relevant keywords because they're using AI to filter them in, and they're rewritten, and they're actually better than the ones that are good, because with AI, for the first time, you don't have to sacrifice effectiveness for efficiency. You can get both, and that's not something we've ever been able to do before. Do it faster and better. It was usually you picked one, but not anymore. So I know a lot of us have probably seen ChatGPT. I had to redo this video because I had a video that's a year old, and I was like, that doesn't even look like ChatGPT anymore. But if you haven't, this is what it looks like. It's a blank screen essentially with a box, and you type in your prompt. It's a little bit different than Google though, right? You're not just asking it to bring up a list of web searches. You're about to have a dialogue with this chat bot essentially. So I have a prompt that I'll talk about later, but one of my favorite prompts, I explain who I am, what I sell, the 4 outcomes that I can provide, and then I ask a question at the end. So you'll see this kind of run through. I say I sell sales training, sales technology, etc. This is what we do. Help me create 3 ideal client profiles for what I would like to do. So it's going to create me ideal client ICP number 1. It's going to list the pain points. It's going to list the goals. It's going to list the important information for prospecting like I asked. And it's going to be all listed out for me. It'll do the same for Deal Closer Dawn. It'll list all the information that I'm going to need to make an ideal client profile. And it'll do the same for Insightful Isaac. I might not like all 3 of those. I might want to tweak the 3rd one or change the 4th one, but that's easy enough to do just by going back and asking it. But that's actually not what I want. I want to take all that information now and I want to distill it into 4 different categories. I want to know, what do they care about? What do they spend their time on? What do they often struggle with? And then how does my solution help what they do? And you can see it's not always perfect, right? There's little breaks in here where there should be a line break, but it's giving me all the information that I need for each of the ideal client profiles on what they struggle with, how they spend their time, and how I can help them.
Jordan, can you go back to the prompt about how you got to showing the team?
Yeah, let me do that. Just for you. Normally I'd say no, but since it's you guys, of course I can. Yeah, perfect. So this is what I said. I said, for each of the categories above, please summarize below points, return the data in tabular format with the below points as column headers. Each department will have its own row. And I actually kind of messed this up because I pulled this from one that usually prospected for departments, and I'm doing ICPs, but it doesn't matter. It can understand the context and say if this applies in the same way. So that's great. All that information is helpful, but again, that's not what I'm going for. What I want is I want prospecting emails. So you can see there's a lot of text in there. I told exactly what I want. It's not a short prompt, but here are the emails that it comes out with, right? So let's take a look at one of these. Your sales reps are losing precious hours every week on boring admin tasks. I bet you're trying to streamline processes with spreadsheets, manual tracking, but it's just not enough and eats up more time than it saves. Our solution automates these tasks, freeing up your team's time to focus on selling and closing more deals. Are you interested in learning how we can help your team become more efficient? Is it perfect? No. Is it better than 90% of the cold emails I get? Yeah, it definitely is. Right? And so there's people that always say, you can't use AI and just copy and paste it to write emails. I can. I know if you know how to prompt it, you do. But the key here is you got to know how to prompt it, because if you go back, I told it what it should say, right? I said in the first sentence, it needs to evoke emotion from the recipient by describing a painful problem they're currently facing that our solution can solve. Second sentence needs to describe how they're trying to solve it and how they probably are not solving it efficiently. Third needs to describe how our solution could solve it. And fourth needs to ask if they're interested. And I can just use that over and over and over and over again. So I know we've seen ChatGPT, but hopefully that kind of opens your eyes to some of the potential of it, especially when you really understand how to use it in what you're doing.
That functionality through, I usually use Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that has that kind of capability?
Yes, it'll be different though. It will be different. I like Gemini for some things. Like I've actually used that prompt in Gemini and it's come out fine. I feel like ChatGPT is better at providing really long responses for whatever reason. But if I wanted to do it with something that was like relevant and I wanted to stay up to date with it, I'd use Perplexity, because Perplexity searches the internet and it's going to be even more relevant. A couple caveats, and I'll talk about that later too. Yeah. Okay. So how does this apply in the world of sales? What are we really talking about here? Well, when we've looked at it and we've asked the question, 9 out of 10 salespeople believe that personal connections are the most important part of their job. Is that a fair statement? You think the most important thing we probably do is this, right? Despite this, multiple studies have shown that only 1/3 of the average sales rep's time is spent selling. Oracle, Salesforce, HubSpot, you name them, they've done the study. It's like 28 to 36%, depending on which one you ask. So why is that the case? It's the most important thing that we do, but we've only spent 1/3 of our time doing it. Are we lazy? Are we golfing too much? Is something going on? I don't think that's what's happening for the most part. It could be. Something like that, right? But what happens when we break it down? So when Salesforce looked at it, I believe this is from their State of Sales 2022 report or something along those lines. They said, okay, the 28% of the time they spend selling is spent on in-person meetings, virtual meetings, and prospecting to set those meetings. Fair. But we know, in this room especially, that there's more than just those 3 things that we have to do in our job and our role. Especially as business owners, it's even probably more complex than that. But even just as a general salesperson for a company or BDR, you can't just do these 3 things and be successful, right? You have to figure out what leads or opportunities are you going after. You have to research prospects. You have to put all this information into a CRM, everyone's favorite thing to do in sales, right? But even there's downtime and internal meetings, there's just so much to keep up with. Sales reps just don't have the time to do what they need to do. And because of this, 3 out of 4 sales reps actually say they can't complete all the tasks assigned to them and do them at the quality that they need to be doing. That's an issue. They either can't do everything they need to do or they can't do it well. 3 out of 4, right? So how do we go about solving this? Well, to make things worse, on top of drowning in tasks, they're actually drowning in technology too. Right, so the average sales company has more than 5 tools in their tech stack to close a sales deal. They're encountering 5 different pieces of software. I put together a list of 20 tools, right? And I use 16 of these 20 tools on a daily, if not more regular basis, and more than just this. But I can use all of them because I've integrated all of them together in a way that I don't have to type the information into here, and then here, and then here, and then there. I type it into one and it goes into all of them, right? So there's a way to do it more effectively. And I think that's through using artificial intelligence, automation, and just technology as a whole. And it's important because 98% of sellers wish they had superpowers to help them accomplish their day-to-day duties. And I think that AI can fill that gap and help sales teams be a superpower. Go ahead.
So Edward Jones just dropped a ridiculous amount of money to buy Salesforce. And this region is the first one to get it, and it's been a nightmare.
Yep.
But we were did a seminar last week where it's that foundation is what is going to manage all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Once we work out the kinks and the rest of the company gets it, all of this stuff is going to be implemented, and that 70-some%
Mm-hmm.
is now 13%.
Yep.
So that's what Salesforce is going to be doing.
That's the goal, if implemented properly and if rolled out properly, which can be a big if. But really, what's happened in the past is companies have bought technology in silos, right? So the sales department buys a tool, then the marketing department buys a tool, then finance goes and buys a tool, and then someone comes in and looks at all of it and they're like, what is going on here? How do we tie all this together? And you can't. You just can't. You can, but you're paying a lot of money, and you're paying a lot of money to, custom builders that are, software developers and making code that is going to break potentially once one of them updates, and you're like, do you really want to do that? So ideally, if done properly, and I've been a part of a rollout, so I understand how that goes, and God bless you and good luck. It's the grass is greener on the other side for sure in that one. Let's just say that, and it's with the right intentionality in mind, which is good. And this is where we're getting to actually. I could have paid you because you set me up perfectly. Sales leaders are recognizing that their reps are overwhelmed because their reps are telling them, there's too much going on. There's too much technology. I can't handle all of it. So most companies are looking at cutting down their tech stack and consolidating their tech stack into a few different tools that integrate well together. And this is important because sellers who are overwhelmed by technology are way less likely to hit their quota. And if you've ever been on a team or been a person on a team that's implemented new tech and you don't understand how to use it, you get what I'm saying. Right? You're spending more time trying to learn the technology than you are actually selling or using it to sell. So the good news is the goal of all of this is to make the sales process easier for the reps. And that is what seller role simplification is really about in its core. So people are on the right track. It's just about taking the steps to actually pull all of this off and do it in a way that the sales reps will welcome, because as you know, change is not easy. Even sometimes when we need change, it can be tough. But especially when we're talking about this level of change for some people, I mean, I had to implement HubSpot to my father who sold the old school way for 30 plus years. It was fun. It was an experience. But it was a great experience. And now he's coming to me saying, hey, you got some tasks that are unchecked on your HubSpot. You need to go and knock those out. And I'm like, all right, let's go. So that's enough of the doomsday pitch for you. Now, how do we go about fixing this? Well, there's a couple use cases that Gartner calls out, but before they do, there's 2 things that they talk about for a successful implementation, or that successful companies will focus on when implementing. One of them is they're going to prioritize use cases that show immediate impact. We don't have a year to sit around and see if this AI tool is working or not working. It needs to work in the first 2 to 3 months, or else we're canning it and we're churning or going to the next one. That's just the way the world is right now. The second piece is that salespeople have to welcome it. Because do you know what the biggest challenge is with implementing a new technology?
Pushback, user adoption.
Yep, pushback and user adoption. Guess what? If no one adopts the tool and doesn't use it, it doesn't work very well. You have to actually use it in order for it to work. But if you just put it into someone's hands and say, good luck, have fun, it's not the best strategy to implement something new. So there's 4 use cases that they focus on. Seller role simplification, which is where we'll spend most of the time today. There's generative value messaging, which is basically putting together messaging that isn't just noise. How do we actually provide value through the messages that we create? There's prospecting, which I know salespeople are distraught that they're not going to be able to prospect anymore. It's going to be done for them, but that's coming down the road. There's some caveats there. I'm still on the fence about the AI calls and all that stuff, just to be totally transparent, but we'll see. We'll see. And then, of course, solution design and deal closing, arguably the most important thing that we do, or else we won't be around for very long. So what is seller role simplification? It's exactly what it sounds like. It's automating activities that are essential to the sales function, but that salespeople see as administrative. It's updating that CRM. It's taking notes on the call. It's this, it's that. It's the continuous tasks that someone needs to do it, but if they don't do it, no one does it. So what do? Right? It's below their pay grade probably too, but it's got to get done. So how do we go about handling it without spending our time on it every single week? Well, in order to get to where we want to go, it requires a change. And this is called the formula of success, and this was shared by HubSpot CEO Yemeni, I'm going to mess up her last name, Rangan, something like that. And she talked about the old sales formula versus the new sales formula. And the old sales formula might look familiar, and I've seen it deployed at a lot of companies, and it's using more reps with more tools who are focused on doing more activities that should drive more sales. Right? You throw more at this wall and more is going to stick to it, hopefully. Just give them more tools, hire more reps, make more phone calls, but you can only get more so much. We've all heard of the law of diminishing returns. The same thing plays a role in sales and in this use case or this case scenario. Right? If a rep starts making more calls, they don't get better at the calls. They typically get worse. So
the cliche is it's a numbers game.
That is the cliche. And it might be a numbers game in some areas, but who's doing all those numbers? And is number 1,000 as good as number 1? Probably not. We're all human, right? So what does the new sales formula look like? Well, it's similar. It's looking at the same types of things, but looking at them more intentionally, right? So it's looking at using efficient reps with connected tools that are focused on the right activities that will actually drive more sales. Not just more, but we got to figure out with technology, what's working, what's not working, where are our leads coming from, what are closed won deals, what are they saying the reason they bought is. Let's start to get this data and report on it so that we can use these connected tools to get insights and then focus on the right activities that will actually drive more sales. We don't have to play this numbers game. We can play it in a different way that's smarter. So here's my caveat too with the AI calling and all that. I think, so first, I know you're not allowed to give yourself a nickname. I don't know if you're allowed to quote yourself in your own presentation. I'm doing both, hoping they just cancel out. So just gonna run with it.
I like the universe behind it.
You like that?
It's very Star Trek-ish.
Yeah. I was gonna have it start scrolling, but I figured that'd be too reminiscent for this room. Yeah, exactly. That's right. That's right. So I believe that lazy sales reps will use AI to replace themselves. They'll use AI so that they can just do whatever they want to while working from home and no one can tell. And that's going to happen. But I think that the most successful people will use AI to multiply themselves to 2x their output, 3x their output. And still not, I'm not saying work 80 hours a week. I'm saying work the same amount of time or less and become more efficient. So I think there's also something to understanding the right piece of the pie that you go after. I'm not trying to replace my selling time with AI. Why would I do that? I only spend 28% of my time selling, and what am I going to do? Spend more time not selling? I don't want to spend more time in HubSpot and doing reports and all this stuff. I want to use AI to spend less time on non-sales activities so I can spend more time selling, so I can double the amount of time I spend selling to become more efficient. All right, so that's when I see people using AI to make calls for you and send emails. yeah, it's cool. It's great if you hate making calls. I understand that, but is that really the best use case for AI right now? I don't think so. Yeah, Alan.
So I used to be one of those scared of this stuff. I think I'm kind of in the middle now, but this is what scared me. The movie Idiocracy. We become stupid.
Mm.
We have things doing that 72%. What I heard from the last slide is there are going to be people out there that are still going to learn this stuff and know this stuff. I was worried that that 72% was going to disappear, and then we're relying on this, and nobody knows how to do the unknown stuff anymore. But that last slide said there are, from your perception, will you retain that 72% knowledge of how to do things, even if you're not doing it?
Good question. Probably not. No, probably not. The question I have, though, is do you need to? Right? So for me, one of those things is taking notes on a virtual call. Do I need to really know how to take the best notes on a call? I'm not that good of a listener. It's not my strength anyway. I'm not a great writer. I'm a better talker. I'm a better communicator, and building relationships is my strength. So I'd rather lean more into my strength and let AI handle the part of the job that I'm not that good at, and quite frankly, I don't like anyway. And that skill set is not something that I'm worried about not developing, right? Whereas there are things to where you do have to be careful. You don't want to just think for you all the time, and that's why I think augmenting intelligence is better than artificially replacing intelligence. I like the word augmented intelligence a lot more, but it's even things like, think about a calculator, right? Do we need to know how to do long math anymore? Like if someone gave you a logarithmic function, would you be able to complete it? Do you need to be able to complete it?
Well, rockets.
Mm-hmm.
We gamed out how to get to the moon. Now we've forgotten how to do it. We're having to figure it out again.
Yeah. I don't know much on that rocket example, but I think that it's a genuine concern that you don't want to farm it out like you're saying too much. But the question is, what are you farming out? Are you farming out an actual skill set that you need to develop? That's probably potentially dangerous. Are you farming out research so that it takes a tenth of the time? Probably less dangerous. I don't need to become skilled at searching through Google to find an answer. I'd rather learn how to use Perplexity to get that quickly. But yeah, to your point, you just have to use it in the right area. Yeah, great point.
Kind of a more simplified example is we used to have to memorize our home phone number. Like you were like, what
Yeah.
number do you call if you're in trouble? Like, let me go punch your number here, punch your name. Yeah.
You're right, though, that you can rely on the technology too much, and you do need to be careful about it. I mean, I was in a meeting where I'm using AI note taker, taking no notes, because I think I got the whole thing, and it was a long call, and it didn't render. The whole meeting didn't come through, and I was like, I have no notes. My business partner was taking over the next call, and I was like, I don't even know what happened. That was one of 7 meetings I had that day. I don't know. And I had to thankfully work with the AI company that took the notes, and they said it's too long, we got it. So they made it work, but now I take a couple of notes on my iPad, still technology, but take a couple of notes, and I use the note taker. So I kind of do both and use it together.
Is your note taker, is it like a Zoom call where it says, this robot is now listening in, and you have to people have to approve that it's okay with them?
It doesn't say the recording thing, but it just has an extra box on your Zoom meeting, and I typically always ask someone before I invite it, or it's in the meeting invite when they book a meeting with me that, hey, I'm going to have an AI note taker with me. If you don't want me to join, or if you just want to be humans, just let me know and I'll kick it out, or whatever. They expect it when they jump on with me, so it's a little bit different in my world. But even when I was doing a project with Medtronic, I had an AI note taker in every single call. We were talking about fairly proprietary information in that situation, and they had no issue with it. But I was also using one called Sybil, which, like Fathom, if you use Fathom, it trains the model on anything that you say. So like I was meeting with my financial analyst, and I was using Fathom. He goes, yeah, what's your social? I was like, I'll email it to you. I'm not going to say it on here. So you need to be aware of some of those things as well. Make sense? Cool.
Text it,
Yeah, probably better idea too. WhatsApp it. carrier pigeon. Okay, so how do you get to the next stage, right? So Gartner's laid out a couple of different stages in what they call the journey of sales tech maturity. And it starts at stage 1, but I think honestly it really starts at stage 0 right here. And I've worked with a lot of companies who are at stage 0, which is everything's manual, everything's done the old school way, which wasn't old school 5 years ago, but it is now. And I think it's not a lot of companies' faults for still being at stage 0, because honestly, a lot of companies have just grown so quickly that they couldn't implement the technology and the systems to keep up with their growth. But a lot of them are now looking back saying, what do we do? Where's all of our stuff? How do we manage this? And then stage 1, it starts with simple automation. And simple automation is really individuals at that company picking up a tool or trying a program out and saying, hey, this is helping me here, this is helping me there. It's not company driven or company led, but it's individually based on, hey, I got some efficiency putting this email into ChatGPT and getting a response or whatever. Stage 2 is where the company starts to actually take an interest in implementing this technology, and they assist selling to improve productivity by integrating it into the process, right? So this could be something like a CRM that maybe has AI capabilities, or maybe doesn't. Maybe it's just a CRM. Or it could be an outreach tool, an automated outreach tool, so that reps don't have to send every outreach automatically, or a texting tool, or whatever it might be, some type of technology that's integrated into how they go about selling. Stage 3 is where a lot of companies, I believe, are trying to get, and it's where technology becomes a full part of the sales team, and it's actually automating a lot of, if not most of, the sales activities. Things like sending out initial responses or emails to an inbound lead and putting them into a drip campaign. Things like booking a meeting with meeting links or different things like that that automatically update based on your calendar and availability, right? Or even CRMs and some of the tools that I'll show you here in a second that support your actual sales strategy and sales methodology, whether it's understanding the personality of the person that you're talking to, or taking notes on the exact information that needs to go into your CRM, or a variety of different things. Now, stage 4, I don't want to scare you. It's not for all companies. It's just for the Walmarts, the Amazons, the big box type stores, and it's autonomous selling. And this is where technology can completely automate the sales process, and salespeople are acting more as strategic overseers. So again, I think the cutoff for most is right there, but the question is, okay, how do we get there? So when it comes to moving to the next stage, there's 4 questions I ask any company that's trying to implement AI. A lot of the time, I'll show a company or a group of people this presentation, and they'll come up after and say, Jordan, this is super exciting. Where do I start? And I tell them, I have no idea. Right? Everyone starts at a different point, in a different place. There might be some similarities, but it's pretty unique. Everyone needs a different AI tool. There's not 2 people in this room that'll probably use the same tool the same way. So how do you figure out what to use? Well, the first question I ask is, what is your sales process? Which I love asking that question as a Sandler trainer, because a lot of the times people say, oh, might be this or might be that. If they have a team of people, I say, okay, you got all 10 of your people, you put them in a different room, you ask them what their sales process is, how many answers do you get? Most sales leaders say 10 or 12, because those 2 have different sales processes depending on the day. Okay, well, how do you automate that? How do you implement technology that's unified into a process that everyone has their own? So do you know what your sales process is? And do you know it well enough that you can write it down? Most people might think they know it, but when they go to write it down, they don't know what to write. They don't know what the stages are called. They don't know how to name the stages. They don't know what information they collect in each stage. And I guarantee you, if you can write all of them down, you'll have a very good understanding of where you need to go next in your process. And I love this because this is all that we really do at Sandler, is focus on how to understand to go from start to finish through a sales process and what that looks like. From there, the question you have to ask yourself is, how manual is it? Each stage, look at each stage and figure out how manual is that stage. Are they all super manual? Are there some that are very manual? Because what you want to do is you want to find the bottlenecks. Because if you find the bottlenecks, you'll find use cases that drive immediate impact. And if you do it in a way that simplifies the life of the sales rep, they're going to welcome it. So if you can focus on those things, you'll find tools that can be implemented and can make your life easier, that people will adopt, and that will change what you're doing and how you're doing it. Okay. Now for some of the tools. Ready? So what if you could use AI to build better relationships faster? Early critique of AI, it's impersonal, it's, I'm going to lose contact with my clients and who they really are. Yeah, maybe, depending on what you're using it, but one of my favorite AI tools helps me build better relationships with my clients faster than I have in the past. So I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I think I'm connected with almost everyone in this room already, but if I'm not, I'd be glad to connect with you. And I live there because that's where my leads live. That's where my ideal client profile lives, as they say. And before a meeting, I'll go and look at someone's LinkedIn and I'll figure out who they are, what are they into, do we have any common connections, things like that. And I'll still do that. But now I use a tool called Humantic AI, and Humantic allows me to predict the personality style of that individual to 60, 70, 80% accuracy, depending on how filled out the profile is and a variety of factors. And there's a couple of the tools like this. There's Humantic AI, there's Crystal Knows, there's Human Linker, all doing very similar things in different ways. And some people might be like one of the tools more than another one, and that's fine. It just totally depends on your use case. And that's why it's good to know what's out there. So what does Humantic do? Well, it predicts my DISC personality, right? So we know what DISC is, Myers-Briggs, similar to that, right? So it's going to tell me, who is Jordan? He's persuasive, charismatic, he's assertive. What do I do when I'm qualifying or prospecting Jordan? What are the do's and don'ts? What about when I'm setting expectations? How fast is he going to move? Is he going to take any risks at all? What about when negotiating or closing or writing an email? What are the different things I should say? Should I use a subject? Should I say a greeting? No, don't have to. Get right to the point, right? Don't have time for that. You can use bullet points. That's telling you how do you need to talk to the person that you're supposed to talk to. And we've used this, and we've trained DISC at Sandler for 40 plus years. My father and I both know DISC fairly well, we'd like to think, but it's still given us insights. We had one opportunity where it said, they like to be in control, so give them options. We're just going to give them one option. And so he said, oh, okay, that makes sense. So we kept our main option, and then we had one high entry, low ongoing, one low entry, high ongoing. And so he could pick which option was best for him. And he picked the best option for him and the best option for us. So it was a win-win. So it helped us close an opportunity like that. But I just talked about how we're already getting overwhelmed by tech. So we can't just be piling on more and more and more tech. And the reason I really like Humantic is because it seems like a native integration right within HubSpot. So the Humantic plugin allows you to customize your HubSpot. So I'm in HubSpot now. I'm going to send an email to myself, which I didn't send obviously, but it can help me get insights on that email, just like you saw on that last screen, or it can even write the email for me. So now right within my CRM, I can use AI to write emails and predict personality styles of people that I'm communicating with. And there's a lot more that it can do. It can predict communication styles, but it can also enrich CRM contacts. So as contacts fill into the CRM, if it has information on that email, it enriches it and puts their DISC style right there, which I can go so many directions with that, but it's powerful. It can help you write tailored and personalized emails, templates, but it helps you build trust with AI. Because DISC is one of the most powerful tools we use for building trust. It helps you communicate with someone in a way that they want to be communicated with. And we say that, we've all heard of the golden rule, treat others the way that you want to be treated. Everyone's not you. Not everyone wants to be communicated like you communicate. So at Sandler we say there's the platinum rule, which is treat everyone the way that they want to be treated. But in order to do that, you need to understand who they are. And most sales reps never go the length to get that understanding of someone else that they're talking to, and when you do, it makes a big difference. Okay.
Is there data suggesting how accurate the predictions are about personality?
It's highly dependent on the LinkedIn profile. The predictions they use, they say 70 to 80%. I say 60 to 80% to give me some extra wiggle room. Like if you pull up a profile and it's not very filled out, tough shot. But honestly, I really use Humantic more as like, I say I use it as a compass rather than a GPS. I'm not trying to take it turn by turn and follow the directions. I want it to point me in a direction and get me out of thinking about myself and think about the other person and give me a couple of questions to ask on that call to verify, is this person really an SC or did it get the prediction wrong? And if it does, then I can pivot off of it, but it makes me think about that. So yeah, great question. I wouldn't trust it too much, but it's better than sending it the way I'd send it normally, which is like a DI, right? That's what I am, yeah. Okay, so what if you could use AI to save over 100 hours a year? And I have a tool that did this. I'll show you the math. I'm not making stuff up, I promise. Not this time. So we've all heard of the AI note takers, the Otters, the Fireflies, the this, the that. There's a lot out there. The question is, what's the right one for you? The answer is probably one that integrates with your systems, right? But there's a lot of different options. So it does the standard thing. It records the call. It transcribes the call. You can go through the notes. It gives you an outcome. So this is a tool called Sybil. It gives you a 2-3 sentence summary, really good summary. It breaks down all of your next steps better than I can remember the next steps normally, and it usually doesn't miss them. And it gives you the conversation starters. So the bonding and rapport that you did at the beginning, it brings it back up and tells you what you talked about, the small talk that you had, so you can bring that up on the next call. Hey, how was your trip to California? Or, hey, how are the kids doing after the baseball game? They win or whatever. Just things that matter. It also dissects a prospect's interests and pains if you kept scrolling down. Pretty intense. The thing I like about it is it's got a timeline, and on that timeline there's dots. And those dots are smiles and nods of the people on the call. So if I'm presenting HubSpot on a demo to 5 decision makers on the call, right? Because we all know that sales is more complex now. There's more decision makers, more blah, blah, blah. When I'm doing a demo, I'm so deep in that tool that I have no idea what's going on from nonverbal cues on that call. But now I can go back in the recording and see, hey, everyone was nodding their head or smiling right here. What were they just talking about? Or what was I just talking about? Typically, I just told a joke, and it was hilarious, so they're all laughing. Not really. Every time. But I can go in and see what parts of the tool are they really interested in based on their nonverbal cues too. Kind of cool. Yeah.
This is going to sound terrible, but I work with someone who thinks he's a great listener and he never stops talking. So this would also demonstrate that, right?
I know someone really, 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 really well who thinks the same thing, actually. Some of you also know him. And once I've instilled some of these tools into the business, he sees his talk time percentage on every single phone call, on every single Zoom call, and like even Fathom. It'll give you a...
Mid-meeting, it'll say, hey, you're talking to someone.
Yeah, it has a pop-up and it says, hey, you're in a 1.5-minute monologue. Like, put a shoe in it, dude, and just stop. So, yes, you have to be ready for the results. That's the thing. So... Yeah, exactly.
I do like how it keeps track of everybody individually too. AI will watch 5 people and watch the head nod or smiles.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see that at all because Jordan's head down, focused on his presentation.
Mm-hmm.
But the AI kept up with it. So there are tells built into the algorithm. I mean, they can look at your body language and know what you're thinking.
They can basically tell, yeah, your body movement and use that to...
Are you open? Are you closed?
Mm-hmm.
Can it make your eyes look like they're always on camera?
This one can't. I have another one that does that. That's a weird one though, because you're like looking in different directions and it's still right there and you're like, oh, that's kind of creepy. So Sybil is great, but one of my favorites right now is Attention. And I love Attention for a lot of reasons, because they love me more than Sybil, but that's another story. But they've allowed us to work together and partner with them to customize this to the Sandler process, right? So when I build a Sandlerized HubSpot, there's 7, 8 properties I almost always put into HubSpot. I put a pain funnel, so surface pains, reasons for the pain, impact of the pain. I put, was there a discussion around the budget? What are the details of that? So it's a yes or no and then details. Was there a decision or a discussion about the decision-making process? Yes or no? What are the details? And then who is the decision maker? Almost always put those into a HubSpot because they're great to have. Now, with Attention, we've built all of those same properties and fields into their platform. So what does that do? Well, it takes the transcript, it dissects the transcript, and it pulls out any surface pains. It pulls out the reasons for the pain. It pulls out the impact if you discuss it. It pulls out the entire thing. So now all I have to do to update my CRM is I click Select All. I click this drop down and select the opportunity because it's linked to HubSpot. And then I click Update Opportunity. And now all of those fields in HubSpot are updated. I didn't have to do anything. I can go in here and delete number 3 because maybe number 3 is not relevant. And I can edit the text right in here and really massage it to where it needs to be. But now it takes me so much less time to update my CRM, it's not even fair.
So the fields on the right are your script. You can make sure to refer to those, make sure to bring them up if they're appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Collecting the rest.
Mm-hmm. No, so these aren't a script. This is the transcript from the call. So anything that was said about their surface pains, it's put in right here.
So you have to know to ask those things.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, you have to just get them talking about it. You don't have to say, what are your surface pains? You just have to, because there's some prompting in the back end that's being used to basically say, what are the reasons they're saying they're having a problem? What are the first issues they're bringing up, et cetera, et cetera. And you can kind of tweak it to get what you want. But that's why the prompting becomes important, because the better you know how to write prompts, the better the outputs you get here. And prompting is kind of the base to all of it. Good question.
So this is a note taker.
Correct.
It interfaces with HubSpot. So can you take like the next steps, or can HubSpot take the next steps that are identified here and then generate an email, like a follow-up email with the next steps? Is that what that does?
There's an email tab right there.
What level of HubSpot subscription do you have to use these tools?
So this is a separate tool called Attention, so it can integrate with any level of HubSpot. Attention itself, though, is just a separate software. So you could do it in Starter, Free, Professional, etc. You might need higher than Free because you need to create some custom properties. But other than that, that's really all you need in HubSpot. Yeah.
Sorry.
You're fine.
A lot of questions over here.
That's okay.
So we use Teams and Zoom,
Mhm.
and use it all the time. Are these tools at some point potentially, or already, are they already in here where I could potentially go look at some, how the Zoom went and kind of see where they are?
As far as like Teams having their own tool that does this,
Yes, or if Humantic is Humantic on Indeed, or
Humantis is its own plugin.
LinkedIn, or is it?
It's its own plugin. So yes and no. So will a lot of these companies eventually adopt these tools and bake them right on their platform? Yeah, of course they will. Yeah, Zoom Info is already doing it with their AI. But if you've ever tried it, kind of sucks. It's a waste of time. Because if you think about it, this company's whole focus is building an AI note taker. That's all they do. Their roadmap has updates on it every month with new features, new functionality. They're updating it like crazy. Microsoft has a couple of other priorities other than making a really good AI note taker for their Teams program, right? So the question is really, how focused is that company on building a good tool? You might find some that you're like, hey, that's good enough. But others you might find, hey, that's not good enough. And that's with all tech.
So 5 years from now, I open my desktop in Salesforce, start a Zoom with my client that's out in Florida, have a meeting. After the meeting, I can go see how open she was to what I was saying, if she was engaged. I can see what her potential personality traits are. And then, without thinking too much about it, show her the options of where she needs to be. And this is all done for her.
We're almost already there today. But yes, in 5 years, definitely. So let's keep going. So we got the CRM tab. Another thing we built out is a coaching tab. So right within the platform now, I can self-diagnose how did I do from a Sandler perspective on this call. Knowing I might not run through all of the pieces in the Sandler process on one call, but I can dive in and say, okay, I nailed setting up expectations, especially with the HubSpot audit plan, but I skipped decision-making details. Next, ask who approves purchases. So I actually had an issue with this one because I was like, I got it. I went back to their VP of sales and I was like, your tool is, it's a little off, man. You got to tweak it and make it better. I knew him pretty well, so I was just kind of messing with him. He goes, so when that came up, I told him, I said, I didn't get a 1, man. I know who makes a decision, and I know that the CFO plays a role in the decision. And he goes, okay. He goes, did you ask any questions or dive deeper into it? No, he just told me that, and I said, okay, sounds good. So maybe I got a 1, maybe it was a 1.5, but it wasn't great. But it helped me kind of actually retroactively look back and say, I need to be better at that myself. And this tool has actually made me a lot better at following the methodology I've known for 8 years. So you have CRM, coaching, and then the Insights tab. The Insights tab is essentially your ability to use AI like ChatGPT, Cloud, whatever, to ask that transcript anything you want. So I can say, how did I do as it relates to diving into pain and what could I have done better? I could say, what is their current CRM? How many sales reps do they have? Any question I have about that company, I can go and ask. And so now I can get the information in 10, 15 seconds rather than an hour of watching that call back. This has changed so much for me and made it so much easier for me to do my job. It's not even funny, especially when it comes to filling in the CRM too.
It's a good segue to your point about how the lazy sales reps will use it to meet expectations, and the really savvy ones will exceed.
Well, you still have to run all the calls, right? You're still doing all the work. You're just using these tools to augment some of the things that a lot of companies hire someone full time to just sit on Zoom calls and take notes. I'm not trying to get rid of those people. I'm trying to have them manage these tools so that they can do it even more and even more efficiently, right? So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, more than anything. And then, of course, you can see what's happening here, right? Out of the hundreds of calls that we've had, what are the most common objections our sales team faced? So now we can distill down out of hundreds of conversations, what are the reasons that people are reaching out? What are their roadblocks? Maybe we should start with these. This is my main talking point nowadays.
Can you sort by industry and segments and different profiles?
So you can sort by the team members that you're having on the calls and which teams it is, and you can pick which conversations you want it to pull from. Depends on what level. It doesn't know the industry of the people that you're talking to, so not really.
If you have dedicated sales teams, that might be more effective.
Mm-hmm. Or if you have a dedicated sales people calling on specific industries, that would work, but yeah. So when you look at the math, 2023 I counted, I had 264 meetings with an AI note taker in it. Before it took 30 minutes probably to log all this, to update CRMs, to write a follow-up email, blah, 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 create tasks for next steps. Today it's probably 5 minutes or less, if that, right? So if you take 25 minutes across 264 calls, you get an even 6,600 minutes and 110 hours with one set of tools, right? That's not even talking about Humantic or HubSpot or all the other stuff. That's just talking about AI note takers. And really, that was before I learned about attention. That was just with Fathom and Sybil and the different tools I was using there. Now that I have attention, it's even more powerful. I'm getting better data.
Do you feel like this is a crutch where if you saw them in person out at some restaurant, you'd be like, oh no, I don't remember their name, like I can't remember anything about my crutch?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
Potentially, yes. But that's the other thing too, is today I can do 8 to 10 calls in a day rather than 4, right? So I can be super, super effective and efficient and get the information in seconds. But you're right, it doesn't stick to memory as well because my brain just can't handle that capacity. Yeah. But the other caveat, yeah, please.
Can something like this also be used for like non-video, just like regular calls? Because I spend a lot of time summarizing my conversations and just putting in, every single, conversation into my
Yes.
CRM.
Yes.
They can do the same thing.
Yeah, so that's the point I was getting to, so thank you. Perfect timing.
You're welcome.
It has an app.
I accept Visa, MasterCard.
Perfect. So this is one of the only AI note-taking tools I've found that has an in-person functionality to it, and that's why it's my favorite. Because I can go on my phone or my iPad or whatever Apple device I have, not anything but Apple right now, sorry. They had an Apple developer on their team. He just made it real quick, but they'll be rolling out to Android eventually. So hey, hold your horses. But it's literally just that. It's a start button. I put the call in at the top and I stay logged in. It looks exactly like this except it says call title. It'll dissect the voices. It'll break them up. The only thing you have to do is go in after and name all the voices because it doesn't know who's who.
Are there regulations that require us to inform and ask permission before we
I
do
would
this?
recommend you do.
I would also recommend you do, but maybe not yet.
I mean, isn't that what Siri is doing all the time anyway? Is listening to you?
Yeah, so technically speaking, when you're making a phone call, if you're making an outbound phone call from North Carolina, you technically don't have to let the other person know you're recording it. Right? So 45 or 44 or 46, one of those numbers, of the 50 states are single-party consent law. Florida is one that's not. So if you're calling and recording, you have to tell them. If someone's calling inbound, you always have to let them know. I always let someone know when it comes to this stuff just because I feel weird recording some of them not knowing about it. And most of the time, they say, that's great, can I get a copy of the recording? Or they want to get the information too. Sometimes I've had people say, I'd rather not. Or I'll say, hey, if you want me to shut it off at any point in this, I can pause it or turn it off or whatever. This is just for my sake so that I can remember all the details I need to get you what you need by the end of this. They're usually fine with that. So can record virtual in-person meetings, can help you analyze all the calls, write follow-up emails, automatically update deals, and update your CRM with AI.
So I would imagine for Alan, he has to make sure he stays on the right side of
Yeah.
clients, people.
Yeah, you probably have to more so than the rest of us, just with what you're doing. I've seen just the financial industry slower to adopt AI in general because of that, because it's the wild, wild west right now. There's no regulation on it. No one really knows what you can do, what you can't do until you go and do it.
There are already firms getting fined for that.
Similar to health.
Billions of dollars.
With HIPAA.
Yes. Yeah, it's similar.
I've experienced
Yeah.
some success with ChatGPT paid version. I do my meetings via Teams. Teams records the call. I just download the file, drag the file into a paid version of ChatGPT, drag the actual downloadable file into the paid version.
You mean the transcript?
The transcript, yeah. Drop it in. It will, and the prompt actually gives me I created a prompt to summarize the meeting, action item notes.
Yep.
And creating a prompt in a way that creates an email that actually gets back to my customer, and I summarize the whole thing, and it's a prompt that I use over and over again. So I can have meetings in a C-suite, and literally within 10 minutes of the call, I've got this amazing summary of the call to action items, and a beautiful email to send with that, with the follow-up to a client. And they go, how did you do all that in less than 10 minutes? It only takes 2 minutes. The prompt is the answer that makes it happen. And you do it just by dragging the teams. It's smoking.
It's a no-brainer, because that's what eats up all my time, is implementing the plan.
You drag and drop the Teams link, downloaded file into ChatGPT paid version, and create the right prompt. You got to write the prompt. The prompt's pretty long.
And
You gotta know exactly what
he's-
You're integrating with Outlook, or what's your email that sends it?
it's just Outlook. It's
Just copy and paste it in there,
Teams
yeah.
meetings, the download the Teams meeting that keeps track of all that, has all the consent bureau in it, and you just put it in ChatGPT and create the right prompt.
Yeah. Okay, I know I've got you for a while. Let me wrap up here. I got a couple more things and I'll let you have at it. So what if your CRM actually used AI to update itself in the first place? More have the capability today, right? So if I'm making a phone call and I record it through, if I'm making a phone call and I'm recording it through HubSpot, which all my phone calls I'm doing now, because if I pick up the HubSpot app and I click call, I don't have to go and say I made that call. I don't have to go and do all the things that most sales reps have to do. I just make the call. It records it, it transcribes it, it breaks down the talk time, like we saw. It now has the ability to just click a button and generate a 3-sentence AI summary of a 25-minute call. So if you're team selling, you don't have to tell someone what you talked about. You can say, go look at the call. And if they really want to dive into it, they can go over here into the transcript and search for HubSpot, and it'll pull it right up, and they can listen through that part. They don't have to listen to the whole call anymore. So there's calls, there's emails, there's all sorts of things, but often what we're mostly trying to do inside of a CRM is manage our deals and opportunities. So how does that look with HubSpot? Well, let's pretend we move this very large deal into the qualified section of the pipeline. What we can have pop up are a couple of properties. Those properties probably look a little bit familiar by this point because we just saw them on the Attention app as well. So these are the properties that are getting filled in by Attention. So you can either do it manually and update them yourself, or if you're using an app like Attention, it can just be updated as you move it. And that can be critical for a few reasons. So once you open a HubSpot deal, it looks something like this. We've added a couple of pieces of customization here, obviously, through SalesLift, because that's what we do. We've added things like a Sandler score. So of those 8 properties, how many are answered? What's their score out of 100 from Sandler's perspective, right? So a sales manager can go and look and say, hey, why do we have all these deals in qualified that have a score of less than 80? That shouldn't be the case. Let's dive into that. We've also created different Sandler tools as playbooks, right? So pre-call planners, upfront contract creators, pain funnels, et cetera, built right within the platform. We have things like a deal score. This is a HubSpot feature that actually is using AI to detect the different key factors of a deal, such as the probability in the pipeline, the number of times the deal probability is increased, the days in current stage, days since last activity, and number of sales activities, and giving you a number from 1 to 100 on its score. And it will show you a trend of that score. You can also see things like a deal stage tracker. How long has this deal been in this stage for? Do we have a next step and a next step date? What's our close date? A way to just see everything in one place so that you know the deal is moving forward. Or even you see down here, there's this deal information. So this key deal information are all of the things that I just talked about, the custom properties that we build into a HubSpot, right? So what's the lead source? What are the details? What type of opportunity is this? What are all the Sandler questions that we ask? And we can customize this completely to whatever a company needs to see so that they have a roadmap anytime they get on the call. They know exactly what questions they need to ask, or they know exactly what questions they need answers to, more so. So at SalesLift, that's what we do with HubSpot, is add AI and automation to the sales process with all of these tools and connect them all into HubSpot, or just use HubSpot itself with its AI tools and create a single source of truth for sales and marketing, align the sales methodology and technology, and grow a business with AI. Okay. Take 2 more minutes and then I'm going to give it back to you. It's taking longer than I was expecting, but I like it when there's some engagement. It's better than me just talking. So there's a couple options for ChatGPT alternatives if you want to try something else, but I'll show you my favorites are the ones in blue. For a couple of reasons. Grok, that's Elon Musk's AI. It's interesting, and I'll leave it at that. It uses Twitter to update in real time, so you can actually search through tweets. And if nowadays, if I ask my friend, hey, what's going on in the world? What happened with this thing over there? Like, oh, I don't know, I'll check Twitter. It's kind of like the news for a lot of generations right now, or a similar app, to whereas you go to the news and you can't actually figure out what's going on. So these are some of my favorites, and the reason they're my favorites is because OpenAI is just the best overall option for their chatbot. Anthropic Cloud is the best for generating human-like text, and their model, again, is based on an ethical model. That's what they're focused on. Perplexity is the best at doing research because it cites its sources, which means it's less likely to hallucinate or just make stuff up. And you can look at where it's coming from and verify that it's actually accurate. And then Google Gemini Pro is the best for integration into Google Suite if you're using Google and you want to write emails with AI, or you want to make slides with AI, or whatever it might be. Use Google Sheets with AI. There's a lot of capability there. Copilot, never really got to where I wanted to get to. There's some cool things that people are doing with Copilot in the full Microsoft suite, as far as like uploading all of their company-wide documents and making them searchable, or things like that. Copilot has a Teams plugin, I believe, for recording calls and stuff, but I'm a Microsoft hater. I really am. I've been on Microsoft for a lot of stuff, and I have to use it, but I just find their programs just be complex, more complex than they need to for some reason. So what are the best practices? And these are the things to keep in mind as you're using any form of AI. You want to be specific. If you tell the intern, hey, go write an email, it's not going to be a good email either. But if you tell him, hey, go write an email to a VP of sales at a manufacturing company and ask him if he's tried automating any of his sales activities and how they've gone so far, and see if he'd be interested in having a conversation with us on how we help companies just like him. Way better email is going to be coming from that. You want to assign a role. So if I'm asking it to act as a VP of sales for a manufacturing company and explain the top 5 pain points, it's going to assimilate that role much better than I ever could. That's why it was really good at the beginning when people are like, hey, write a song in the style of Matthew McConaughey and a jingle about this. And it was like, that actually sounds like Matthew McConaughey. It's really good at that because it's really good at assimilating what people would say. You want to have a conversation? It's not like Google. You don't just type something in and get an answer and, oh, okay, that's what I got. If it's too long, tell it it's too long. If it's too short, tell it it's too short. If it's too robotic, tell it it's too robotic. You can have this conversation and dialogue to really refine that answer and get what you want. You want to break it down. So instead of one massive prompt, sometimes it's better to do the prompt in chunks and have that dialogue back and forth. Instead of writing a book with AI, I'd have it write an outline for that book with AI, and then I'd have it write the first paragraph to the first chapter rather than the whole first paragraph or first chapter. Because again, it's easier to go back and say, hey, that first paragraph, I don't like how you said this. Easier to adjust, easier to adapt, etc. And then last but most important, supplement AI with HI, right? Just because you're using AI doesn't mean you don't have a brain. Use both at the same time. It's even more powerful that way, I promise you. Just because AI said it doesn't mean it's true, right? So trust but verify. Make sure that what you're putting out there is actual real information. I've almost put out articles that were wildly inaccurate because I asked AI for some really cool things. And when I asked it to cite its sources, it said, the sources for these articles exist in the future, so I cannot provide them to you. That's not what I wanted to hear. It's unfortunate. It's going to be a really good white paper. And so what does it really look like? It's just understanding how to put the input in so that you get the best output by saying, act as an ideal client profile for this industry and a company that sells through channels, and share the top 5 challenges as it relates to what you face in your role in business. And of course, I have plenty of prompts and things like that if you want to dive in. So, a couple things I'll leave you with in Sandler fashion: behavior, attitude, and technique. Try out different tools or software in your process. Treat them like a teammate when you do, not a replacement. And focus on technology that's going to simplify your life, not make it more complex. And of course, you can add AI or automation to any sales process. But if you add it to a bad sales process, you get poor results faster. Right? So what's the point in that? So if you need help figuring out the sales process side of things, I would recommend you learn the Sandler Essentials, but I'm biased, very biased. So you do what you need to do, but you need to make sure that you have that sales process locked in before you add in all the automation tools and AI tools. Because we've built HubSpots for companies that they didn't sell, they took orders. It was a great tool, but it just helped them take orders faster. It didn't help them sell more. So that's all I got. Sorry to run through the end there a little bit quick, but hopefully that helped open your eyes or your mind, or gave you some things to consider in the future. Any questions?
Is HubSpot like Salesforce? Is this a CRM? Okay.
Yeah. Not just it's just CRM.
Particular AI that you would recommend as far as protecting, like, anything that needs to be protected, like how does it store it? How does it store that data? How secure is it? You know, like if I were having a conversation with a client and we're talking about really something sensitive, now I'm thinking ahead, but I don't need it in the open world.
Right. So tools like Sybil and Attention, both of those tools don't train the model, and they keep all the information proprietary. So those tools are safe to use. You just need to make sure that you check the safety functionality of the tools that you're using. They should have a page on it if they are. And cybersecurity companies are now using AI to combat AI cyber attacks. So that is being done in the background. But that's all I got really specifically on that, is just checking the tool. The pro version, you can go into the back end and train the model on your response. You just have to know to turn it off. So you can do that and talk to it. A lot of companies like that are using like an enterprise version or an actual, like, I think NVIDIA has a local chatbot that you can download on your computer, so it doesn't talk to the internet, it just lives on your desktop, so it's all secure and safe. There are some of those options, but you have to make sure you have the right computer and computer power for that.
So Jordan, I thought all of the AIs referenced existing content on the internet, but is Perplexity the only one that does it in a real-time, case-by-case?
Yeah, exactly. You're right. They all do reference information on the internet, but so like example, ChatGPT, before it kind of integrated with the internet, it was like trained on information up to October 2023 when they had done the training. And then once they released it, it wasn't being updated. So Perplexity is definitely the best for it. Bing does a little bit too, or not Bing, Copilot now. Copilot does a little bit too. Gemini does a little bit too, which are Google and Microsoft's, but they don't give you the sources. Perplexity does, which is what I really like. Yeah, good question.
Do you stay up to date with quantum computing, which is not exactly this, but it's something else now?
I think I'd enjoy the conversation, but I'd have no place in it. Yeah. Anything else? Cool. Thank you. If you download the QR or scan the QR code, let me know what you think. I'd love your feedback. I'm always changing this presentation because it's out of date in like 2 weeks. But also, you'll get an email from me, an automated email that has a link to download my white paper, has a link to all the webinars I've done, all the different stuff. If you want to check that stuff out, you're more than welcome to. Thank you.
Sure.